Good morning. I'm Attorney Edwin Lacierda. I'm happy to welcome my co-host today, the former mayor of Palayan, Nueva Ecija, and presidential spokes during President GMA, Lorelei Fajardo. Welcome to the family.
Thank you so much, Attorney Edwin. Good morning. Yeah.
So, when were you invited? Nag-oo ka kaagad?
Actually, sabi ko nga, nabigla lang ako eh. No? I was told that I'm invited and I'm not even familiar with the show. It's my first time and I didn't know that I'll be co-hosting you. So when I was invited, I thought it was just a regular show. So I said yes.
It is a regular show, yes.
I mean, I didn't know that it's the spokes, but it's a good concept actually.
Right. Yeah, that's why they have asked all the former presidential spokespersons to be a host.
Yeah.
So we'd like to see, what have you been doing after government? I mean, you were former mayor of Palayan.
Yeah,
when
but
was
that was a long time ago. I was actually one of the youngest since then because it was 2001 and I only served for one term.
Ayaw mo na?
Hindi na po. Pero it was my favorite job. I always say that it's my favorite job of all because it's very fulfilling to be a local, public servant. But kaya lang yung politics side. I thought that at that time I wasn't as prepared yet. No?
But before when you were in GMA's time, you weren't in politics yet, no?
No, my stint as a mayor, tapos na po yun when I was invited to be in Malacanang.
Okay.
Because aside from, before being a spokesperson, I was also I used to be in Central Luzon, assigned in Central Luzon as PA for Central Luzon, yeah. And I was ASEC of Mike Defensor when he was the presidential chief of staff.
The very controversial Mike Defensor now.
He was here a few days ago, right?
Well, he was my co-host.
I know, no. And he told me it was fun. Sabi niya, okay sila, Attorney Edwin.
So,
Sabi niya gano'n.
You were a mayor then, and after you were mayor?
Yeah, and then I was invited to be in Malacanang na after the mayor. And then after Malacanang, I had my show also at Smiley Pinoy. It was a feel-good program ng bayan in DWIC, the Inquirer Radio. Yeah, but that lasted for like almost 2 years only.
So hindi ka nawala sa media kahit pa paano?
That was the last time. That was the last time because after that, yun na nga, I was with USAID already. I've been a development worker for more than 10 years. In fact, that's where we actually had the chance to work together.
Right.
No?
Or the OGP, no?
The OGP, the Open Government Partnership. And it was really, really good. I was there. I was leading the team of the OGP for more than 5 years.
That's good. No? We were one of the co-founders with President Obama of the United States.
Yeah.
But you were also, I understand, with Pag-IBIG.
Yes, I was with Pag-IBIG as one of the board of trustees until 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but now, I'm not with Pag-IBIG anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, natapos na rin yung stint ko after 7 years.
Wow, nice to have you. I hope you do it regularly. So, for now, you will be relieving being in front of the camera because today, we are the spokes.
The spokes.
From the panel souls then to our group chats now,
We will be giving you conversations that will make you think and assess.
so that you could come up with your own personal opinion. So recently, yesterday, we saw that Alice Go was convicted and was sentenced to reclusion perpetua for human trafficking. So, how do you view that?
Well, I think it's a landmark case, no, Attorney, for the Philippines. It's very symbolic, no, because it actually, it's not just a simple human trafficking. It's an organized crime.
Right.
It's transnational crime,
right.
no? So actually, but most especially with me as being a local chief executive in the past, no, ang mas naging worried ako is yung napasok na rin yung local politics ng di ba, ng mga transnational crime. So medyo yun ang for me that bothers me really.
It was good that the Philippines really decided to prosecute and got a conviction kasi sa Laos the Golden Triangle. I've seen news items where Filipinos were also trafficked to Laos, and they did the same thing in the Pogo. No? So at least the Philippines had the courage to really prosecute because ang daming pera nila, di ba? Imagine that whole compound is going to be
imagine,
confiscated.
6 billion worth of the assets that was also confiscated. And ang dun sa ang nakakapag-alala dun Attorney Edwin, it was right there, and we've not seen it coming, ang tagal-tagal bago siguro na establish yung ganong kadami, 26 buildings, imagine.
Imagine mo, that is worth 6 billion.
Yeah, oo, pagkatapos nalaman natin, medyo late na rin, pero at least na-convict na rin. So I think this really says a lot, and we need to learn our lessons from this.
So at least yung mga POGO operators, hindi na mag-iisip na mag-establish ng operations. Although, the downside to that is, I remember that all the real estate firms were housing all these POGO people, no? So talagang nung tinanggal, sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos, let's abolish POGO. I understand, bagsak ang real estate occupancy ng mga
in fact, isa ako dun sa mga affected na yun, Our condo here in Makati, since the POGO, wala nang tenant, At saka bumagsak na rin talaga yung mga, yung rent nung mga condominiums.
Right.
Kasi ngayon, parang sumobra na tayo yata. Masyado na marami yung mga condominiums. Kasi we were catering to the POGO before, and then suddenly nawala siya.
Correct.
So talagang meron ding negative, but
better yung better
course,
na mangyari yan kaysa ma-traffic ang mga natin.
Of course, oo. Tsaka it goes beyond just human trafficking talaga for me. So, yung sigurong, the torture, the death, diba? Yung forced labor, di ba? You can imagine. At saka, yung thought na pwede tayong mapasok ng ganon, in the local government na where everybody knows everybody. So parang lahat ng tao doon sa Bamban na nahimik. I mean, I cannot imagine how it really, how they were able to do it. It's all about money na ba?
Sa dami ng, we don't even know if there were really casualties. That was not reported, but it was really a huge operation. So I'd like to ask you, she was sentenced to reclusion perpetua, which in ordinary, in figure, in numerical terms, is about 20 to 40 years. Kasya na ba yun? O dapat mas mahaba pa?
Well, parang lifetime sentence na rin yun. Although, syempre, bata pa kasi si Alice, so you'll never know, baka makakuha pa siya ng
I remember,
parole or
I remember si President GMA spoke recently because she's against death penalty. Ang sinabi niya, mas mabuti mag-life imprisonment, it will be more miserable for the accused. Do you agree with that?
Well,
o gusto mo, ipatayin na lang natin.
Well, kasi Christian As a Christian, I guess, I would agree with the PGMA. Parang I think what we need to do is to ensure na she won't really get the parole in the first place, because medyo major naman talaga yon, to make sure that she won't give back, we won't be able to give her rights back, kasi sa reclusion perpetua, parang pati qualification niya as parental, or wala pa naman yata siyang anak, marital, etc. So parang you're actually removing all of her rights already, di ba? So wag lang natin talagang pabayaan na makalabas pa sana siya.
Ang problema lang kasi may parole.
Yun nga.
Yun sa parole. So if you've served the minimum amount, you're eligible for parole. So yun na lang sana. Wag sanang mabigyan ng parole. Kasi ang laking pinsalang ginawa sa bayan natin.
Sobra. And this has to, sabi mo nga, dapat matuto tayo dito. This should really serve as a lesson, to other, especially yung mga foreign na mga nationals na who are thinking of committing crime here in the country, na it's not going to be that easy, di ba?
So it's really a blow to transnational syndicates, criminal syndicates. So, the other thing that was recently in the news was business groups were calling on the government to return the 107 billion pesos that PDIC remitted to the National Treasury. Yung PDIC, just for everyone's concern, yan yung pondo in case insurance, just in case may mag-bankrupt na bangko. And the amount of that is taken from the banks themselves. I think a certain percentage, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 5%, nilalagay doon para lahat ng bangko maglalagay ng pondo doon kung sakaling may maging bankrupt ang isang bangko. doon ang magiging pambayad sa mga depositors, no?
That's correct.
So, how do you, in the first place, should they have done na kunin yung pera doon? Hindi na pera ng
I know,
yun eh.
oo, parang pag-ibig rin yan, ano?
Oo
Yung
nga,
pera ng
exactly.
pag-ibig is really not the funds, it's the funds of the members,
Right.
di ba? So parang ganun din yun sa PDIC. Pero what bothers me actually PDIC is the fact that yung funds nun na kinuha is napunta sa mga infrastructure projects ng government, which is actually very controversial now, no? Having all of these brouhaha about the infrastructure projects, tas malalaman mo na dun ginamit yung pondo, yun yung pinaka medyo malaking doon parang question mark.
Yung
no?
problema doon, I think someone is raising the constitutionality of that
And that too.
law. Kasi dapat hindi mo pwedeng galawin yan other than paggamit sa kung sakaling may bankruptcy, no?
Yeah. At saka di ba kasi, attorney, ang it's a pagbangko, it's a trust issue.
Right.
Yeah, so, yun nga, no, medyo na-breach ng trust, no? Medyo ngayon questionable ang trust natin dahil dito sa mga corruption issues.
It was good that the banking system, the finance, the FINEX, no, the Financial Executives of the Philippines Institute of Corporate Directors, really raised a hold because this is really something that is bothersome. This is money reserved just in case banks would go under, and now they've taken a portion of that and put it into a purpose which is not stipulated by that particular act of the PDIC. So we now have a problem, although they're claiming may pondo pa raw, but I think I don't know why the
beside the
banks,
point.
maybe I don't know why the banks are not raising a howl. Buti na lang nagsalita ang FINEX.
Yun na nga, oo. Doon din ako nagulat na bakit, I'm sure the banks would know. Kasi
Ay,
may mga
definitely.
intelligence rin yung mga yan, no? So, I really don't know. In the first place, why do they have to do that? Even if they can do it, hindi ba? So,
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, no? Parang, kulang na ba talaga ng pera ang gobyerno natin at kailangan nilang galawin yung mga GOCC
Kaya nga
funds
itong
natin?
ginawa nila, really, it blurs the line between financial policy and safety nets on the financial side. This is practically, fundamentally, a safety net for the depositors. Kasi kung it goes under, talagang yan ang. But however, ang sabi ng gobyerno, the Department of Finance, PDIC defend the move saying it's fully compliant with the 2024 GA. Yeah, it's compliant, maybe compliant with the 2024 GA, but the thing is, the law itself, hindi naman pwedeng ilipat yan. But however, PDIC President Roberto Tan says the Deposit Insurance Fund remains adequate even after the transfer, reportedly still more than 250 million. Well, kung ganyang kalaki yan, bakit kayo mag-require ng so much percentage for deposit? Because if you go a bank run, hindi naman million lang mawawala. You're looking at billions. And given the situation right now, kung sakaling the economy is down, people will trying to be saving their money. Alam mo na mga Pilipino, meron tayong PSB. Hindi yan Philippine Savings Bank, kundi poste sa bahay. Nilalagay na lang sa bahay yung mga pera para siguradong may no? So, anyway, sana maayos
beyond,
na.
actually, it's beyond the point na hindi lang porque pwede gagawin mo, di ba?
Okay.
Is it right? Di ba? Is it fair?
So talagang it's something that we should, the government should really return to PDIC. Anyway, so this wraps up our Noted by the Spokes, and will be joined later on by former Governor Davao del Norte, closely associated with Vice President Sara Duterte, when the Spokes return after this short break. And the Spokes is back. Joining our discussion is a former governor and former congressman of Davao del Norte. He's currently the Secretary-General of Hugpong ng Pagbabago, Anthony De Rosario. Go, Anthony, how are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, Spokes Edwin and Spokes Lorelei. And of course, good morning to all our televiewers.
That's a nice way of greeting us, Spokes.
But after all, it's called the Spokes, right?
I almost forgot that I was Spokes. It's been a long time. But welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
The last time, Gov, that we saw each other was during the Pinoy Time Pass.
Yes.
And I heard that at that time you were afflicted with cancer. Could you share a bit about your
Yes.
situation?
When I was elected as congressman in 2010, this was the same time when President Noynoy was also elected, no? I discovered that I had a relapse with my cancer, which
Right.
was Hodgkin's disease. No?
Right.
And as a result, I had to leave for a year. I had to take a leave of absence from Congress for a year in order to get treatment in the United States. No? So that was in 2010, and then eventually when I came back in 11, I served as congressman of the district, the first district of Davao del Norte, and then up to my second term, until the end of the
Right.
term of the president, of President Noynoy. And then after that, I became governor ng panahon ni President Digong. But that was just one term. No? Then after that, natalo na ako noon, so I didn't go back.
I heard that was a pretty rancorous fight with the Alvarezes ba?
Yeah, my opponent at the time was former Speaker Bebot Alvarez. No? It was very expensive campaign, no?
I would imagine.
Grabe ang pera.
Grabe.
I heard nga, and you mentioned a while ago that it was really, ubusan ng pera.
Well, syempre, di ba, I guess the guy was the former speaker. Obviously, you know,
It was loaded.
Marami siya sigurong pera at that time. No? Talagang, at that point, ang vote buying at that time was just ridiculous.
How much was it?
From what I remember, umabot na siya ng mga 5,000-6,000 per head. Eh.
Wow.
Wow, NCR level yan, ha?
Yeah.
At saka
But, you know,
at that time, sobrang laki nun.
Oo, malaki
And, you know, kami kasi, you know, our family's been in politics since the 70s.
Yeah.
No?
Right,
My father
right.
was there since 78, 79. And when I joined politics in 2002 as barangay captain, eventually councilor, board member, vice governor,
Ang
congress,
dami mo
governor.
palang pinagdaanan.
Wala
ganyan.
kaming vote buying eh. Kasi during those days, it was really programs, plans for the province, for the district, for your constituents. And you were voted based on what your plans were.
So that changed?
Wala na ngayon yun. Ngayon, when you go back to the province and you talk to people who are running, wala nang mga rallies. It's more
How much?
handshaking na lang and then bigayan.
Pero I just asked,
Nobody
kasi-
talks about plans anymore.
but you're identified with Duterte na at that point, di ba? So
Yes.
it didn't help? Parang you were
Yeah,
with them,
especially
so
in Davao,
party
di ba?
Money
pa.
talks talaga eh, di ba? Kasi, you know, we have this situation where, of course, we're a third world country. A lot of people, money is really what they're looking for, no?
Typical story.
Yeah,
So it's if that happened to you in Davao, in the province of Mindanao, is it safe to assume that's happening everywhere?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
And no wonder pala may flood control tayo. Ang laki pala
nationwide.
ng-
Because like for example, as I mentioned, our family has been in government service since the late 70s.
Right.
So marami na kami natulungan, no?
Right.
Hospitalization, blah,
Nakapagtanim
blah,
na
blah,
kayo.
scholarships. But at the end of the
Hindi pa rin
day,
enough.
when you're campaigning, the person who gives the last is the one that they remember, di ba?
Pero that's
So
a good
even if you've
question.
been helping your constituents for like 20 years, when it comes to the election period, on the last week, kung sino ang nagbigay na mas malaki, nakakalimutan na yung 20 years of service that you've done for your province.
So in the twinkle of an eye, people forget the services that you've
Because
rendered.
money
And
talks eh, di ba?
Pero di ba usually that happens in remote areas na dahil nga problem natin, education, tsaka poorest of the poor, no? Pero pag medyo highly urbanized, such as, for example, Pasig, di ba? Medyo nagbabago na rin naman ng konti yung climate when it comes to the election. Are you saying that the whole of, kasi you have cities also there, Tagum, for example.
I would venture to say that everywhere, even in Metro Manila, meron talaga yan.
dito,
Pero
dito
medyo
imposible
minimize.
wala. Pero
Imposible
sa
wala.
probinsya nyo, kayo ang
So
Tsaka I was
kami,
surprised, it's a good question about Attorney Edwin asking na, di ba kilala ka na with the Dutertes and they're actually campaigning for you at the same time, di ba?
Yeah.
Didn't help at all? Kasi parang sa
Not
Davao,
really.
I thought, yun ang ano ko eh.
Not
Yun
really.
ang ano ko.
Depends eh. Sometimes it helps, but you still need the money.
Yes.
Yes.
It's crazy for anybody to run without money. Whenever you hear somebody say, nanalo ako pero wala akong perang ginastos, that's a lie. Impossible.
But hopefully after all this brouhaha about corruption, flood control, people dying because of that, sana medyo magkaroon ng change ng mindset, di ba? Yung mga
Sana.
tao.
Well, actually, I think this is the vote buying here in this country. I think that's one of the reasons why we have this corruption.
Yeah.
Diba? I mean, where else are people
Parang
going to
chicken
get
and
the money
egg, diba?
to
You know,
do
Gov,
vote
and I
buying?
think this is a common rationalization of why they take this money. No? Sasabihin nila, yung pera naman yan, hindi lahat napupunta sa akin, ginagamit ko na yan para sa constituents ko.
Yeah,
So, but it's a rationalization why
It's a very good
congressmen or
excuse.
senators.
I even recall di ba, when I was running in 2019 for Congress, I remember I was espousing anti-corruption, huwag kayong tumanggap ng suhol, vote based on your conscience, blah, blah, blah. And then my opponent, I remember, would say, lahat naman tayo dito magdanakaw. Ang mas maganda sa akin, binabalik ko sa inyo.
Ganun ka-open.
That's how
Diba?
they
Parang Robin
rationalize.
Hood ang style di ba? So parang wow, and people accepted it, no? So I was like, wow, iba na
But
talaga ang
after that,
mentality.
did you run again?
No more na.
No more na. Oo.
Our
And
family decided that, it wasn't,
it's not worth it.
our reason for being there was to serve the public. So somehow it has changed, and now it's not the same anymore, no? So my dad and I were talking and say, maybe it's time for us to get out already.
And are you saying that you don't have plans anymore
Wala
of
na.
going
I'm already
back
in the
at
private
all?
sector, so
So now that you're out,
there's no more stress, di ba? Wala na yung,
I can
wala na
relate.
yung kumakatok at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I can relate
three of us can
totally.
relate to that. But the thing is, now that you're out of government and you've decided no longer to engage in politics, how do you view political dynasties?
Actually, I was in support of, during Pinoy's time, when I was in Congress, we were really talking about passing a bill for
That's
dynasty,
always the bottleneck why a political
Siyempre,
dynasty.
di ba, yung families, di ba,
Yeah.
sinong susunod sa akin, yung
Yung
anak ko gusto
boboto.
maging congressman, blah, blah, blah.
It has to pass in Congress and silang yung number
Sila
one
ang
na
unang
maapektuhan.
matatamaan.
Pero how far did that discussion go?
Actually, it got to if I remember, it got to the point where we were already talking about, okay, pwedeng parang bawal ang within the second degree of consanguinity.
1, 2.
So parang,
lolo-
and then there was even discussion na parang hindi pwedeng same LGU. So for example, kung mayor ako nitong town na ito, pwede pinsan ko another town. Yun, acceptable
Same
na rin
province.
yun.
Pero kasi kung pinsan yan, it's beyond the 2 degrees, second degree of
Sobra na yun,
consanguinity.
di ba?
It's like lolo or kapatid.
Yes.
Yun lang ang
First
Direct.
cousin, I think, is third or fourth na yata.
Yeah,
di ba?
malayo na yun
Yeah. So basically, second is father, son.
Father,
di ba?
son.
Yun,
Sibling.
or daughter,
Oo,
di ba?
oo.
So what do you call this? At that time, umabot na sa ganung usapan. But of course, eventually it died down.
Because ayaw pa rin.
I really don't know. Basta
Second
people
degree
said-
na lang yan. Dalawa na lang mo.
Parang nobody wanted to talk about it.
Yan ang problema kasi rin sa political structure natin. No? 3 years is very short. No?
Yes,
Ang dami mo ng milestone na na-achieve in Congress and then matatapos yung 3-year term, then you're back to zero again.
Yes.
Diba? So I guess that's really a need for, changing the system as a
Yeah.
whole. Diba?
What do you suggest? Longer term?
Well, we were advocating at the time when I was active with the League of City Mayors, not 4 or 5 years, pero 2-term.
1 term?
Yeah, ako, I
2
agree with that.
terms. Yeah.
I would rather say 2 terms of 4 years each. Para at least ang gastos mo twice lang. Kasi when you do
So
3
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
8 to 10
if you
years.
If you do 3 times of 3 years each, which is 9 years, you spend 3 times.
But,
diba?
but
Kasi-
it's worse in the U.S. because the U.S. congressman, it's only 2 years. Every 2 years,
Yeah, oo.
they
Yeah.
have to run again.
Yeah.
So
Pero-
it's really difficult.
Kasi attorney, we're talking about 6,000, 7,000 per head. At that time, that was what, 10 years ago?
Yes.
Oo, magkano na ngayon yan, di ba? Now, speaking from experience, when I was a mayor, yung 1 year mo, nag-aral ka eh. So you wanted to
Yes.
learn before, of course, doing
So 1 year,
things na...
yung first year mo, learning
First year mo,
curve.
learning curve yun, planning, etc. No? Yung second term mo, that's where you implement your projects. Third year mo, you're already forced to campaign.
Preparing ka na.
Oo.
But
So-
when do you start raising funds? I mean, in the 3-year
Well,
period.
actually,
You start raising fund
the
on day
experience there is, I think, from day 1 pa lang eh.
Kasi,
diba?
the moment naman na umupo ka, actually, hindi pa nga eh, nagka-campaign ka pa lang, wala na yun, dire-diretso na yun. No? People will line up to you already.
Yeah.
Na wala kaming pangbayad sa kuryente, wala kaming pang tuition, walang pamasahe,
Lahat ng
etc.
problema, sa'yo talaga
Yeah.
pupunta. When you're governor, ganun. Congress, ganun din. Di ba?
Where do you get all these funds for that? Kasi
Well,
hindi mo pwedeng
that's what for me, if I had to choose, that's what makes it better to be governor. Kasi meron kang sariling pondo sa province. Di ba? You have your own assistance, you have your own hospitalization funds. So, whenever may lumalapit, you can get it from the programs in the province. In Congress, of course, may program ang DSWD, or Department of Health, or PCSO, or whatever.
You can get, you can influence.
Yeah, so those are the sources, di ba? But sometimes kasi, especially if you're in Congress, matagal ang proseso. Not unless you're the speaker or you're the majority floor leader, mas
have
mabilis
to
yan.
wait
But
for
if
the
you're just an
budget.
ordinary congressman,
Even if you're allied with the...
yeah, it takes longer. Mas mabilis ang
Kasi
governor, siyempre,
kailangan
di ba?
pa sa yung budget, papasok mo muna yun, di ba?
Magre-request ka pa, di ba? So, unlike governor, pag sinabihan mo yung head ng provincial social welfare o tulungan si ganito, may galaw ka agad, di ba?
On another note, Gov, kasi 'di ba, sabi mo nga, no, hindi ka na babalik sa politics. But here you are, you're very close to the Vice President and you are part of the Hukbong, 'di ba? I mean, what made you decide to still help out in politics?
Well,
It's still
actually,
politics.
And to be more looking at the genesis, how did you become identified or allied with Hugpong Pagbabago? Is it Hugpong ng Pagbabago?
Yes,
or?
Hugpong ng Pagbabago, or HNP, no? Actually, since we lost in 2019, I've never attended any meetings with the HNP. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if there were meetings done after the Vice President won in 2022, no? Kasi HNP was helping out in the Uniteam campaign in 2022, no? But nung nakaupo na sila as President and Vice President, since then wala nang meetings ang HNP, no?
Hindi, pero bago nun, paano ka napunta sa...
This was the time, of course, when I was governor, and of course, Vice President Sara was then mayor of Davao City, and of course, the president was President
So
Digong.
you were still sitting as governor
Yes.
when you became...
And then around 2017, I think, or 18, the governors of Davao Region, together with Mayor Sara, talked about how to unify all of the LGU heads, di ba?
Regional party.
And create maybe a regional party to solidify the unity within the region. Of course, with the hope also that being the fact that the president is also from Davao Region, we were hoping that we would have better programs if we were more united.
Right.
Kasi the biggest problem kasi when you're talking about regional development is if you're not realigned with, or if you're not aligned with all the other governors, siyempre may kanya-kanyang priorities yun, di ba? So, for you to be able to develop your region properly, kailangan talaga everybody must be in sync, same direction. So, that was really the purpose behind it. And then, eventually, nauwi siya sa politics because nagkaroon ng midterm elections sa 2019, di ba? So, a lot of candidates who were supporting President Duterte wanted to run for certain positions, but unfortunately, meron incumbent, which was the party at that time was PDP Laban. So they would like to support the president, but they could not run under his party because merong incumbent. So the other option was to join another party that was still aligned with the president. And of course, they wanted to be aligned with HNP. So that's how naging active yung HNP during 2019.
And how were you chosen to be the SecGen?
Kami lang yun. We were only like 5 of us in the
ganun ba?
meeting. Sinong presidente dito? Sinong ganyan?
Mga governors, no?
Ganun lang.
No.
And I said, Anthony, Secretary-General? Okay, Secretary-General, walang problema.
Nagturuan lang.
It was just 5 of us,
So,
di ba?
ibig sabihin na voluntold ka lang.
Voluntold,
di ba?
yeah.
Oo.
Ganun lang yun. It was very simple, di ba?
Pero kasi it's a very good concept yung regional party, di ba? Pero how did it affect the economic development in the region? Kasi ako, I'm an advocate of strengthening the Regional Development Council, and I heard that you've been active during
Yes, of course, during those days,
governor.
it really helped a lot that the president was from the region.
Right.
Diba? Siyempre,
Yes.
pag meron kaming mga requests for certain big-ticket projects, napapansin. Like for example, at that time, one of the biggest projects that we wanted, that we've been longing for several decades, panahon pa ng tatay ko when he was an assemblyman, was putting a bridge between Davao City and Samal Island. Samal Island kasi is part of Davao del Norte. It's not part of Davao City, no? So the problem always was getting funds to put up a bridge which is like about 2 kilometers long, no? And every time we would ask national government, they would say, ano ba population ng Samal Island?
Siyempre.
Napakaliit. So parang it doesn't...
Yung cost benefit.
Yeah, parang wala, di ba? So eventually, because of President Digong and of course Mayor Sara at that time, na-endorse namin to the President, and it was approved. That's why now there's already an ongoing project of the bridge between
that's
Davao
nice.
and
Take
Sama, no?
advantage of the President being
So
there. Dapat
that's just
ganun
what, for
naman.
me, in Davao del Norte, malaking bagay yun.
You did that under your watch as
Well,
governor?
we got it started. Okay. But it's still ongoing until now, no? Hindi pa tapos.
So this is a classic example of you suggesting a benefit for your constituents and then not remembering the deeds that you've done. And
Yeah,
chose
ganun,
another
di ba?
one. So it's so
That's
tragic.
just, ganun talaga, very short ang memory ng mga botante.
Well, at the end of the day, kung ano naman yung makakabuti sa taong bayan, di ba?
Yeah.
So, kung wala man tayong credit na makuha, but we know that it will serve the
Yeah,
people, then
that's
the
what's
reward,
important.
di ba?
Yes,
That's
that's
the
what's
reward
important.
that we get.
Sige. So it's really it's really very interesting and just ask you a question, a SecGen of HNP.
Actually,
how
I
is-
don't even know if I'm still a SecGen, ha? As I said, we haven't really met since 2022, so I don't even know what is the status of HNP.
But nonetheless, how is HNP changing the strategy of VP Sara's regional party since the unity team breakup? So it's a good question for you to ask. But before you answer this, the spokes will return after this short break. And the spokes is back, still with Governor Anthony Del Rosario. A while ago, I asked you about is there going to be a change of strategy with HNP since the breakup of Uniteam, and you mentioned that you're not quite active. But given that what you know in the past, what do you think of the situation moving forward?
Well, ever since the breakup, this is me now talking personally,
Right.
because as I said, I've not had any communication with anybody in HNP. But I think this is just a matter of survival, siguro, I'd like to say,
Survival of
both sides, di ba? Kasi obviously the administration is trying to remove the vice president. It's very clear with the impeachment, di ba? So siguro if I was that person trying to be removed, what am I going to do? I cannot just accept it, di ba?
Right,
Siyempre I have to
right.
fight back also.
Right.
So those are all natural reactions to parang survival ito di ba? And I guess, siguro, on the other side, siguro the supporters of the Vice President, dahil galit sila sa nangyari sa kanilang kandidato, siyempre, may parang binabalik nila ngayon sa Presidente. Ang gusto naman nila ngayon, ang Presidente naman ang tanggalin. No?
So parang naggagantihan lang.
That's
Parang ganun ba yung-
why nagkakagulo tayo ngayon, no? Because the supporters of the President want the Vice President out, and then the supporters of the Vice President, parang pangbawi, they want him out
In the
also.
process, ang
diba?
nagsasuffer yung bayan.
That's why when I first saw na nagkakagulo na, the relationship when Vice President Sara resigned from Lakas, sabi ko, nako, delikado na ito.
delicado to
For the country.
you mentioned something like you've not been quite involved since the
Since
break.
2022, yeah.
But that seems to show the perspective of VP Sara that she's not really focused on the region, she's focused on just her own small team. Because you should have been consulted in terms of getting support from the party.
Well, as I said, I've been out already, no? So maybe she has other people that she's talking to. I really don't know, no? But the point is,
But this is her party. She was the one who created
yes,
this
but
party.
as far as I know kasi, parang wala nang meetings yung
But,
party. di ba?
so are you saying that HNP may not be the jumping board of Sara's presidency?
I don't think it's going to be.
So she's going to form another one, or
I really don't know. But I do recall one time she was being interviewed and she said that she would just like to remain independent. So I do not know if that's going to be the
But-
strategy if she decides to run later.
Gov. Anthony, you know that when you are independent, there are some
Difficult.
difficulties, especially with Comelec, di ba?
Yeah.
I mean,
But I don't want to second guess di ba? Kasi I really don't know what her plans are, as I said. I'm just basing it on what I heard in the interview. She said that she's going to remain independent. Now, I do not know if that means all the way until she runs, or maybe she's going to be independent for now, and then when she decides, then she will decide what party to join. But definitely, if you're running for president, you don't need a regional party. You really need a national. di ba?
Right, right.
So HNP is not a national
but
party.
won't it metamorphose into a national party?
If that is what the officers of HNP want. But as of the moment, there's no...
Pero
Question ko lang,
eh.
who are the officers of HNP?
I really don't know also, di ba? As I said, Because, again, we haven't had a meeting since 2022.
Alam mo ako, medyo sa akin, parang...
Or maybe they've had a meeting pero hindi lang ako invited. I really don't know, no? But I have not heard of any meetings.
Kasi if I'm in the position of VP Sara and I have ambition of running as a president, no, in 2028, no, I would master all the organizations, especially my own organization, which is HNP, no. Even if it's just a regional party, kailangan mo lahat yan, di ba?
Well, here's the thing kasi
And this is the best time,
from my
in fact, because
experience-
of what's going on. You have to take advantage.
She's
of
talking from someone whose mentor is PGMA, who's
Yes,
a
yes,
very
yes,
good
yes.
organization.
From me kasi, the way I know Vice President Sara when we were working together before, when it comes to plans, she doesn't really talk about it. She really keeps it close to her heart. She might hint that she'll do this, she'll do that, but nothing is final until the last minute with the Vice President. No? So at this point, a lot of people are saying she's going to run, she's going to do this, but you really don't know. Everybody thought she was going to run for president, di ba, in 2022,
Pero
but
actually,
she didn't.
di ba yung what happened nga yung unity na yan. Kasi as an outsider, you would know na ayaw niyang tumakbo. That's what we're hearing, di ba? And then si PRRD was the one pushing her to run because ang taas ng kanyang survey result, no? And yet, she was convinced to run. I think one of the reasons why Senator Amy is that loyal to her because she was the one who really convinced
Hindi
her
ba
to
si
run
GMA
for
ang
VP.
nag-convince sa kanya?
I cannot confirm or deny that. So, di ba? Baka magalit si Ma'am pag nanood siya. So, anyways, yun yung kaya ako ang pinakamalaking question mark ko is, was this planned all along by PBBM admin? Kasi parang feeling ko na-trap si VP Sara in that situation. She didn't want to run, but she was convinced to run the last minute. And then, nung sila na yung magkasama, parang sandali lang, parang may mga demolition job na kaagad sa kanya, even with PGMA, di ba, inalis siya sa Congress and all. So parang ano ba to? Was this planned all along? Talaga bang pinasakay lang ba siya? I mean,
Well, that's what it looks like, di ba?
Di ba? This is as an
From outsider
outsider.
looking in, parang ganon, ginamit lang siya.
Diba?
Tapos after that,
Pero,
Kaya,
I
if you're
remember
VP
what-
Sara, magagalit ka rin
Pero what
talaga
was the
if that's the
sentiment
case,
of
diba?
President Duterte when there were talks between Sara and BBM running?
I recall the President Duterte did not want Sara to run for Vice President. Talagang
That's
adamant
what
siya,
I heard,
President.
yeah.
dapat.
President.
President talaga
Oo,
dapat.
So
Kasi
the
ang
decision
taas
was made without the knowledge or
I think
without
so.
consulting?
I think
In
so.
fact, I think that's the reason why medyo nagtampuhan pa silang
Yes.
magtatay.
From what
diba?
I remember, parang nainis si Presidente Duterte na gano'n na nangyari.
So parang siguro sabi ni PRRD after what happened, I told you so.
Because actually, when you think about it, diba, during that time, it really doesn't make sense. You are the front runner for president in all the surveys,
Ang
and
layo,
then you
ang
decide
layo
to
ng
slide
survey.
down.
Wait. You're still with HNMP. So what was the discussion within the regional party of her decision? You were not consulted, it
Well,
seems like.
kami lahat, we really wanted her to run for president. No? But every time we would talk to her at that particular time, no, when we would talk to her about it, she would always say, I'm not sure, kaya ba natin, until she decided to run for mayor. Remember, her first filing was mayor. So when she did that, of course, we found out na she was going to do it. Wala na kami magawa, di ba?
Pero
We had to
tanong,
respect it.
was the decision to run as vice president made with naivete, or she was really got convinced by IME or GMA to?
I think at that point, she was convinced that BBM was the right person to run
But
for
did you
president.
warn her of the possible consequences?
No,
of-
because I didn't think naman there was anything wrong with BBM. I thought he was also a good president because, a good candidate because I campaigned for him also in 2022.
And there were no signals that was there any rival? Because I know of even senators nagkakampanya, nag-aaway internally, the teams. And during the whole time of the campaign, there were no away within the two teams, the presidential and the vice presidential team.
Wala naman ako napansin na may
So,
away. No? Talagang everything was working smoothly. If you recall, during the 2022 campaign, the campaign manager of Sara, well, actually, she had two campaign managers. It was Congressman Claude Bautista and Speaker Martin Romualdez. who is the cousin of the presidential candidate, di ba? So, everything was working smoothly, di ba? Pag may gusto si Vice President Sara, idadaan lang niya kay Martin, makakarating kay Presidente. Back and forth. Yun ang parang bridge
How do
nila.
you mean there's no direct line between the
No, they
vice
had also, but there are certain things, like for example, kailangan mo na ng logistics or whatever, di ba? So, I think everything was fine during that time. As a matter of fact, well-coordinated yung campaigns. We would be campaigning in one area for Sara and BBM, and then the other group naman would be doing. I think there was no problem at the time.
Tsaka I guess yun yung sinasabi mo kanina na wala siyang plano, 'di ba? Hindi siya, he's not like his father siguro na mahaba magplano, 'di ba? At that time, perhaps talagang gusto niya mag-mayor lang talaga ng Davao,
Yes.
'di ba? And then until she was convinced
Yes.
to run as vice
I
president.
think if there was any-
And it was actually a good campaign, 'di ba? Na unity, na unifying both parties.
I do remember now, there was one ticklish issue, which was the scheduling. But, you know, I mean,
No,
that's
that's normal,
normal, di ba?
that's
But
normal,
other than that,
oo.
wala na ako na bang narinig na problema eh. So, I think they really, you know, campaigned really well during that time. There was no issues, there was no intriga, there were no problems.
And maybe the first signs of it was she preferred DND, and she was given the portfolio of the education department.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the start of it. But anyway, just in case, I just want to ask you, you know that VP Sara will most likely, or there were plans to do an impeachment again. Let's assume that she's able to pass that, and this is of course your personal opinion, no? Who would be the better vice president if she decides to run for the president? Who do you think would be her
Oh,
running
wow.
mate? There's Amy Marcos. Alam mo, sandali marami na nag-a-apply nag-audition na di ba? Si Chis Escudero, si Alan Cayetano, si Amy, sino sa tingin mo ang, I mean, your opinion.
If
Well,
she's
actually,
going
the
to
funny
run.
thing is, you know, I was talking to my wife about this a few days ago. And she asked me that same question. What if she becomes president? She would have to choose from the Senate or from the House, right? The first person that I said was Marcoleta. And she asked me why, and I said, I'm not quite sure. I don't know Senator Marcoleta, but I believe that he could complement
Hindi ba pareho
Sara's
silang
style of government.
No, but
But
one of the functions of a vice president, and we know that you want to be vice president because to be a support to the president.
Yes.
I mean, that's ideal.
Yeah.
But in a campaign, that is not your main role. The main role of a vice president, and you would know this, Gov, no, is to be an attack dog.
Yes, but we're not talking about the campaign. We're
No,
talking
no.
about
Correct,
succession,
correct.
di ba?
But Marcoleta, I feel, would be good because he's an attack dog.
Well, yeah,
he
that
takes
too.
all the
Yeah.
attacks.
Yeah.
He absorbs all the attacks so that, Sara Duterte can speak about her plans, her visions, and Marcoleta can take all the hit. And rather defend. In the same way that spokespersons take the hit. but that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good.
But that was I remember my wife asked me that same question a few days ago.
You think he'd be a good vice president?
I think so. He has shown that he's a capable senator. I think everybody prior to the
it's
campaign.
either you love him or you hate him.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people,
Walang in between.
prior to the campaign would not have ever thought of voting for Marcoleta. But during the campaign, I think things changed, and then let's give him a try. And so far, I think yes, of course, as you said, it's either you hate him or you love him. But I think he's doing well.
But Gov, will any of VP Sara's brother run for senator or higher position?
I
You
don't
think
think
in
so.
2026?
No, I don't think so.
Talagang medyo masyado silang domestic, mahal na mahal nila yung Davao. Ang
Yeah,
ganda lang mo
I
sila.
think Congress or mayor lang yan.
Bakit? Why don't you think that they should run for higher office?
No, I mean, I think they should, di ba? But I'm just saying,
Given their
if you were
personality,
asking
because you're
me,
very close to them, you would know.
I think hanggang ano lang yun, local or Congress at most for national, not Senate.
When I saw you in the time of Pino, you came off as a very competent congressman and quite a technocrat. Actually, when you were governor, you did a lot of disaster risk management.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I was thinking, you're the kind of person that Vice President Sara would be needing when she becomes if and when she becomes president. So what role do you see in a Duterte second Duterte administration?
Wow,
In the
I
long
have no
run,
idea.
But if you were asked what portfolio, if assuming you were offered a cabinet position, what would you do, or what would you choose?
Well, I think I will not answer what portfolio, but I think my advocacy would really be how to get rid of all these corruption problems. That's basically
Good governance.
Good governance talaga. I think that's what the people want, and I think they deserve it. And we should not use the government for our own personal benefit. So
Interesting you say
whatever the
that.
portfolio is, depende na yan sa
But
presidente.
interesting you say that, because the most, and this is even before this whole flood control scam erupted, DPWH has always been the most corrupt agency, except in the time of Secretary Babe Singson.
Yes.
Maybe that's a good role for you, since you're also familiar, I understand, with procurement, di ba?
Yeah, definitely,
In
because
fact, you
being a
have-
former governor, di ba? So
You're pushing for a procurement law amendment? Or?
definitely one of the biggest problems we have is the procurement
But
process.
we just had a new law.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not sufficient.
Why?
I think the basic problem there is, number one, if we're talking about procurement law, no?
You want the law to be amended or just an executive order?
Well, amended would be best, di ba, through Congress. Basic dyan is the selection of contractors, di ba? Collusion yan eh. Yun ang basic problem, the collusion. And I think it's already been exposed, di ba? The problem is, when you look at the composition of the Bids and Awards Committee, they're all employees of DPWH. They all report to the district engineer or the regional director if it is a regional bidding, di ba? So obviously, if the plan is to make money, kasabwat na dyan yung mga empleyado sa baba, di ba? Kaya nga I think it already came out several times na pati yung Bids and Awards binibigyan din ng suhol.
Syndicated crime na nga.
Di ba? May suhol din yun. So, there's something wrong there, di ba? So, for me, I've always said, why not include people from outside the government?
Oh,
civil society.
Yeah,
di
that's
ba?
a good idea.
Number
It's
one,
open government partnership.
number one, for
Yeah.
example, why don't you put a representative from the diocese of your province?
See, let me ask you
Diba?
this. Do you see VP Sara becoming president before 2028?
My gosh, I don't
So
know.
of all the flood control, it's
Well, you know, that will
Na parang
depend. I
every
think,
day there's a new controversy
This
coming
morning,
up.
by the
okay.
way, this morning, President Marcos already came out with a video announcing that the evidences will be submitted to Ombudsman in relation to Speaker Romualdez.
Tsaka imagine yung desperation natin, pati si Ramon ang nasasama na nasa picture,
Si
di
Bilyonaryo
ba?
ang nagsabi niya.
nagulat ako doon kagabi, nakita ko yun. Oo. I think this will all depend on what President BBM does. I think it's now in his court. The ball is now in his court. If he's able
But
to
do you think
satisfy...
VP Sara is ready?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You know, there's no doubt she's ready. But again, as I said, this is all depending on what the current president does. If he's able to show the people that he's serious about putting people in jail, reforming the government, getting rid of corruption, then everybody will be happy. But if he, you know, takes a long time, dilly-dallying, I don't know this, you know, that could spark a revolution.
Alam mo, kulang isang oras nito.
Oo nga eh. Sarap ng kwento. Sabi ko nga, para lang tayo nagkukwentuhan sa
Yeah.
coffee shop.
So thank you again, Governor Anthony. So
Thank you,
we
thank
should
you.
have-
Pleasure
Yes.
to have you, Gov.
So,
Yeah, so this wraps up today's episode of The Spokes. For now, don't settle for just one side of the story.
because every issue has two perspectives and the truth may be somewhere in between.
I'm Lorelei Fajardo.
And I'm Edwin Lacierda, and we are The Spokes.
Spokes.